Okay, being no citizen comments, we'll move down. Is there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay. Since there's no corrections or additions, we'll move on to the active agenda. First item, first of all, do we have any invoices? There are no invoices.
We don't,
Okay.
so there are 0 invoices.
Okay, so I will accept a motion for approval of minutes for November 14th, 2023.
So moved.
Motion.
Second?
Okay, with the motion and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. No invoices, so we'll move on to review of financial summary, which Shannon just handed out to us.
Yes, so this financial summary includes expenses and revenues received through November 30. We're only 2 months into the fiscal year, so it's a little bit shorter than what you saw at the end of the last fiscal year.
I'm presuming all those numbers add up.
They do.
Does anybody have any questions in regards to the financial summary?
No, but is there any way to get this with the packet so we have a little more time to look at it?
Kind of. So what happened this time is we received it right after we sent packets. Carolyn from the city has to wait for the statements to come in order for her to do her work, and that's why they get delayed. So depending on when the date of the packets go out and where our meetings fall in the month is, it's a timing.
Yeah, I figured it was something like that.
But yeah, but in the future, so what I have done with other boards is I don't like to send them piecemeal stuff, but we're happy to just forward it when we get it if that's the desire of the board.
Yeah, I would like it because I'll tell you, I just can't read it on the fly like this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just send it when we get it, and sometimes it's a day before the meeting, but we'll send it.
Yeah, even a day would be great.
Okay.
It'd give it a little more time.
It's hard to digest just sitting down.
For sure. But, and then keep in mind too, that this is a year-to-date, what we give you, so if you get it for next month and you have questions about October or November, certainly you can bring them up also.
All right, any other questions in regards to the review of the financial summary? And then hopefully next month we can get it a little earlier. All right, no other questions, we'll move on. Next item up for the active agenda is authorization to invest in the Idaho State Treasurer's Pool.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, it was asked of the staff to look into, is this a possibility for the URA, knowing that the city has been investing monies in funding. So Amy Gordon, the treasurer for the city of Lewiston, looked into this for us. What I included in your packet was just the kind of high-level form and then also the application. We will need authorization from the board to do this investment. But what Amy shared, she did a calculation of the monies that the URA had in their accounts at the end of September. Kept on hand, in her calculation, kept on hand $16,000 for each area to cover monthly expenses. And her calculation with the STP rate of 5.3112 at the time she did it, she says right now your Twin River Bank is about 2,200. In this scenario, you would have gained 6,300, so it changes you would have gained 4,000 more in interest if you were to invest monies into the STP.
Is that per month or annually?
That she calculated per month.
Okay.
Yes, she says improve your position by 4,000 per month. And that's based on those right then at the end of September. As you know, we get kind of big deposits in December. And so I think it's a matter of, you know, her advice was to keep 16,000 in each area to be able to cover monthly expenses. That makes sense. She says it's very liquid. She gave me some other comments that during her 11 years with the city, she's never experienced a loss on city funds. It's open to all political subdivisions. During fiscal year 2023, the rates were anywhere, starting in December of 2022, 3.008. By April, they climbed to 4.5, July 4.9, and then in September 5.3.
Shannon, is it easily accessible?
Yes, she says it's very liquid. Oftentimes you get the money that you need the next day.
Okay.
So it's a low risk investment and liquid that the city takes advantage, and she did not raise any red flags with the URA doing that as well.
Can individuals invest in that?
They cannot.
Darn.
They cannot.
The only downside, I think, is not doing business locally when we have a chance, which in this case would be Twin Rivers Bank. But I think that it would be prudent to have more return on our money.
I think, we're not gonna close our Twin River Bank.
No.
They just won't be holding as much money as they currently are.
Is this something that, I'm not really familiar enough with it, except to know the advantages. Is there anything we should run by our council to make sure that it's proper?
You can if you would like.
Well, I don't know if it's necessary or not.
I don't think it's necessary just because of the experience the city has had with it and that it's a known entity and it's a government entity. It says that the LGIP local government investment pool is an investment pool with the primary purpose of providing a safe liquid vehicle for investing idle funds and to obtain the best interest rate available at the time of investment. And the city has utilized this for many years.
But we can always retreat if we don't like it for some reason we don't know now.
It's not working for us, or,
Yeah. I'll move authorization be approved.
All
I'll
right,
second.
all right, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, I've got some more questions. As tax revenue comes in, is it easy just to sweep that in and keep our balance at 16,000?
it sounds like it is. Yeah, the way that Amy's the expert on this. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. But yes, the URA gets increment every month. There's 2 times a year that it's really big. And so it may be that you do it after those 2 big ones instead of on a monthly basis, because like you can see here, that property tax received for October and September is $3,000 in one revenue allocation area. So we may look at it and say, well, we are gonna take the position of sweeping, after the December collections and then after the June collections. That might be the way to do it.
Okay, so they're twice a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the big ones, yeah. Or we get to a point, I send this out and you're saying, well, it looks like we're holding, in excess here, let's sweep some funds. I think it's really open to what we wanna do, and until we do it for a while, we won't really know right today what the best practice would be.
Right. So I'm curious if the motion needs to have an amendment to it that includes the leaving 16,000 in the accounts.
Yes.
And then personally, I would trust you guys to figure out the best time to sweep it in.
Okay.
That would just be, I don't know, a bookkeeping thing that I don't think we need to vote on, really. That's my thought.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, we could start out with leaving the 16,000 in there, knowing we're trickling in some because we will have administrative expenses throughout the year, so you may dip below the 16. If we had just done the transfer, you had only 2,500 come in, but we had 5,000 going out, for example.
Yeah.
But we could certainly start with, go with the suggestion of the city treasurer, leave $16,000 in.
Right. So I would make a motion to amend the amendment to utilize this while leaving 16,000 in the accounts for, day-to-day business. And then, allowing you to authorize, the sweeps and just keep the board informed.
Alright,
So I have a
I'll
question.
second, I'll second.
Is Joe, I don't know that Joe's allowed to amend budgets,
You can make a motion to amend.
but then we would vote on
So now they're
his-
voting on the amendment.
so we've got,
So I have a question before we vote, if I may, Chair. So if we're collecting this tax money from these allocated areas, is it fairly easy to keep track of where it's coming from and how much interest it's building? That's a concern that I have.
Yeah, that's a good question because, the interest would have to be,
Figured out
in a
by each
ratio
area.
to each revenue allocation
Right, so if you close
area.
one
Yeah,
out, you would wanna make sure you
Right.
capture the interest that one built.
Right,
Make
and
sure it's,
We're doing it at the present time, the smaller amount of interest.
that's true,
Right,
yeah. So,
but if we're making twice as much or 3 times as much,
well, like
Okay,
on your
sure.
financial statement here, it is showing the interest for each one of these. We're doing a calculation for it there. I'm sure that we would do the
Yeah.
similar calculation for it on those accounts.
so the bottom line, it's not a concern.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
okay, thank you.
You bet.
Alright, so we have an amended motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
That was mine.
There's Joe.
Okay.
Alright, motion passes.
So that was the vote on the amendment.
Amendment
So now you're gonna go back to the motion and vote on that
of the original motion. Okay,
Yeah,
so we have a
yeah.
motion
with an amendment,
with
the
an
amended
amendment
motion.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? I don't know, if Joe heard us.
You give me a thumbs up.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Alright,
Thank you guys for looking into that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. When I
You
saw the agenda, I was like, oh, I think this is what I talked about, so
Yes, it was.
that's great.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Quick, Joe.
Yeah,
Alright.
Just scrolling down to see if we got anything else here. Oh, we do, okay.
alright, so moving on to unfinished and new business. First item is Main East, Main number 4, consideration of partnership with Wallowa River Properties. Turn it over to Shannon.
Yeah, so just kind of as a real quick background, revenue allocation area number 4, Main East Main, was opened in 2017. And it's on this aerial behind you, but it is essentially from the west is at Lincoln Street, and then it goes to the east to the city limits line, and includes a lot of the properties, including the projects that happened under the main 21st Street intersection. And you will recall that the URA participated in some projects there. There were 3 other projects identified on that revenue allocation area, which included pedestrian improvements, and also the possibility of doing a water line in Main Street, kind of on the eastern portion of this revenue allocation area. The board discussed this revenue allocation area in June of last year, and the decision was to revisit it in March of 2024 to say, are we done with this revenue allocation area? Have the projects been exhausted? You know, is there an appetite to still move on with the East Main water line? So it's essentially parked until March of 2024. As interest comes in through our office, we bring them to you, and that's what we're bringing to you today. There is a potential development on basically the corner of 8th Avenue and 29th Street, if you will. It's a vacant piece of land. I'll bring up a map, what this looks like. There we go.
There it is.
We're using yours, Joe.
Oh, yeah. Looks familiar.
In this case. So, and we do have, with us today, we have, the developer on Zoom. And so his properties are here and here and here. So this is how the conversation started. But if you look at an aerial, you'll see that these properties, along with these properties, are also vacant. These properties along the western part of the property have been developed and do have houses on them. And Katie, on this map, even though I can't, for some reason, cannot rotate this, it won't let me on this version, you can see that here's the potential development as proposed, a preliminary plan proposed by the developer, as well as empty parcels owned by other folks for this area.
And the ones highlighted in yellow are the ones that have already been installed. So those houses have already been built.
So it's all residential.
This is all residential, yes.
Yeah, it's all R2, low density residential zone.
This piece has been developed with a house. But these are owned by Habitat for Humanity, and then these pieces are owned by Neil Gettner.
Can you give us the name of the developer? Shannon?
Yes, Willower River Properties.
And who are they?
They are Tom and Jordan Girding, and they are on Zoom today.
Okay.
Okay? So, the question that is posed is, hey, we know this property is within a revenue allocation area. What, if anything, can be done as a partnership with the urban renewal area? And so today, staff is just coming to the URA board to say, do you have an appetite to pursue this? We do not know at this time what that looks like. This project is not identified in the current revenue allocation area plan. So the question is, if you want to pursue this project, what does that look like? Does that mean you can do an amendment to the plan? Possibly, but there are a lot of restrictions for amendment or modification of revenue allocation area plans. So the answer is we don't know at this time. You may, if you want to pursue it, you may have to not do it as a part of this revenue allocation area, but create a new revenue allocation area in order to do this project. So those are the types of things that we would have to research and vet out if it was the appetite of the board to look at this further. And if you told the staff to look at it further, it doesn't mean that it's a go still. It means that we're gonna look into it further to say, if you wanna pursue this, this is what this means. One more piece of information that we have on the current one, again, not saying that we can amend the plan and use this funding, but I updated our projection for Main East Main with the most current dollars that we have, which is $567,000. We take out the expenses, and our estimated increment at this time is $412,500. That's from the county. And I just used that same number across the board. I did not apply growth to it. One of the things that, if we are told to continue researching this, that we would look at is this, as you can see, doesn't have a lot of years left on this plan. So that comes into play too, as in, you know, what are the implications of that and how it would tie into this project. I can tell you, I've talked with the Public Works Department about what would this look like as far as water. Dustin is here today. Dustin Johnson from the Public Works Department. Essentially, there are questions on how water would be served to this site. It's not just a matter of tapping into existing infrastructure. There would need to be some preliminary engineering done or study done to say, could this site be served from the north? Could it be served from the south? What does that look like? And what would it take, both construction-wise and monetarily-wise, to get water to serve all of these properties?
And so are they trying to build an apartment building? Is that what, or you don't know?
No, those are single-family dwelling
Okay.
lots.
Yeah, they've
So
broken it
they're
down.
planning to do like city dwelling lots?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so Jordan or Tom, you're welcome to chime in and tell us about what you may want to do with this property, and why you're approached the URA.
Sure, so I'll introduce myself, I'm Tom Griffin, and my son Jordan is, works in conjunction with us on any sort of developments. What I would say is we're not your traditional developer. I have a history as a general contractor. We're based out of Corvallis, Oregon, but we do work throughout Oregon and much of eastern Washington, and have ventured throughout about 7 western states at given times, depending on projects. I've sold the company to the employees. It was a 100% employee-owned company now, and I am primarily its chairman of its board. This is a property purchased back in, I want to say around 2005, and at that time we had hired Reed Giselle, John Watson as our consultant. We developed half-street improvements on 27th Street and put in those, I believe it's 13 lots. At that time, we went ahead and put in the infrastructure of the sanitary sewer and the storm drainage going, I believe my direction's correctly, to the north, all the way down to I believe beyond 4th, down into East Main, if I'm correct. So we have those infrastructures in place. At that time, the water, because the very issue you're bringing up now, we were hoping it had gotten corrected, and still it's not there. The water system is not in place to be able to support developing the rest of these lots, which would include, I believe, the 8-inch water line down through the new 28th Street to turn back out onto 29th Street. And so the property has sat undeveloped for that very reason. It just financially cannot pencil. And with the basis of an urban renewal and a vacant piece of property, at a minimum with what we had proposed, if we continued with that, with 30 individual lots, as I look at our property taxes, I believe it's about $1,550 we're paying into them. Anyway, roughly around $3,000 is currently what we pay into the property taxes. And 30 lots, I don't know what the value for the property tax base would be. If you call it 250,000, somewhere in there, that generates close to 100,000 a year of additional taxes to that. Ideally could help in the decision of supporting the development. If there's no ability to provide the water to this site, it'll continue to be an open field that I currently have somebody in the area who mows it and uses the hay of sorts for feeding his animals. But that's in a quick snapshot. So happy to answer any sort of questions, but we would love, we received a letter in the midst of COVID, and now just coming back up, looking at this, but encouraging us to look at just with the need of housing, whether it be single family, whether it be rental. There is the ability on density. I'm not sure we would want to rezone for multifamily at a given time. When we purchased it, talking with some of the neighborhood folks, they'd asked us not to do multifamily. They felt like it would not be conducive to the neighborhood feel. So, but I think there's definitely more density we can do as far as townhouses and various sorts of things. We played around with some of that, but Jordan has reached out to John Watson. I believe he's with JUV now, and if there was interest on your end, that would be our next steps is to engage JUV to revamp and take a better look at this, and come back with a specific request if there was interest on your end.
All right, so that, is there about 30 dwellings, is that what we're thinking, estimating?
There's 30 lots remaining on their original plan. I went through and did the math, and based on that R2 zoning district, 17 of those lots could have duplexes on them by right without a rezone or conditional use permit, and 13 could have single families, just a single house.
So I guess the discussion would start, do we amend the plan, is there interest? Is there interest in?
Yeah, the discussion would be any questions that you may have for Tom, and then it's not necessarily go ahead and amend the plan, it's what are the, yeah, you're telling staff, we are interested, and staff would have to go back and research what would that look like moving forward.
Fits on the surface, it seems to fit with what we do.
So with water, does that implicitly mean water and sewer?
No, there's a sewer line already.
There's already a sewer line?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've already installed a sewer line. It starts down here and it goes all the way through. And so that services these guys, and there's an easement across the back. And then they've also installed a large portion of the stormwater system. That's what this purple line is.
27th Street.
No, it's an unimproved. This is not a road. This is a goat trail. So this is unimproved. Unimproved 28 actually.
So they don't have stormwater.
They do have stormwater.
They do.
Yes, they've installed, and they have installed the stormwater system. They've installed the sewer system.
Okay.
They do not have water.
But no water. Is there any, off of these streets here, is there any place to hook into more water, or?
There's places to hook in, but it's not adequate to serve this.
There's not enough
That's
water.
something that
with the existing.
we'd have to.
So that's
Put in.
something that would be a possible project for the URA to participate in.
So, Mr. Girding, you said some engineering has been done as far as water infrastructure requirements? Is that correct?
Yeah, back in 2007, at that time, Rita Cell had put together a generalized plan, and I believe it was pulled up a little bit earlier. It was nothing more than basically, from a sizing standpoint, with the fire hydrants and all that the future 28th Street, and I don't know if you can go to maybe that map, go backwards to it.
Yep. This one.
No, go forward to it. There you go. So the lime green being the future street, and the water line would come off of 8th and come down the future 28th and loop back onto 6th Avenue to get that loop for appropriate pressures. However, again, there's not appropriate pressure in the existing line at this given time, is my understanding. But that's the water infrastructure, that the water does currently come down 29th Street.
Dustin, do you want to speak to that at all?
I mean, we can get into the weeds a little bit if you'd like, but this development sits between two pressure zones, so high reservoir, low reservoir, so this one kind of splits the middle of it, so you can be optimistic and say, good news, it can be served by either one, or you can say the other side of it is that's why it currently doesn't have enough pressure on that, because it doesn't have the large diameter pipe serving that. And I think, as they've already said, it doesn't pencil out for a developer to put that infrastructure in because it just doesn't pencil out for development. What is optimistic right now is, with all the work that we put in on the water plant and forced to put the work in on the high reservoir, the next priority is the transmission line, which runs down 29th Street. And once we start modeling and doing some of the engineering services work, that will open up this project. So we met with Shannon last week or whatever, last week to talk about this. And so from Public Works perspective, between the URA, the developer, and what we're doing on the water stuff, I think there's a great, a lot of overlap, kind of dovetailing, and we need to look at how we can move water around there in bigger pipes, which will then open up this property, and you already have a URA district there, even though it doesn't necessarily speak to that. So I'm here to say, I have interest in partnering with everybody in this room. If you guys are interested, great. If not, I can continue conversations with the developer on the side. It just may not move as quickly as we want.
So I guess the question is this something that falls within our realm and are we interested? Has anybody?
Well, the apparent impact that is favorable is that it's infill within the city in an area that's not been developed, for good reason why it hasn't been developed. I'd say as far as we can go is we maintain an interest in following it. We don't know specifics of what URA assistance might be, and we don't know how to attain it, whether to amend the plan, whether that's possible, or to create a new district. So I think all we can do is say we will maintain an interest as we know more.
That's reasonable.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Although, it seems like these developments should be something that the city just does by virtue of their, normal operations. And I always think of the Urban Renewal Agency as, okay, we're here to come up with a plan to utilize blighted property. And it seems like this has already had some development. They've put some stormwater in. I think it's highly needed because any more residential homes that we get into the area, there's such a demand for people that want to move in. I think it's a very, very necessary project, but I'm just wondering if it's within our charter to do as an urban renewal agency. And it's something that it seems like the city, that it would be in their interest to promote this. And, it's something that comes up all the time. You have developers that want to put houses in and they have to get water to them. And so this one happens to be in, the East Main district. So, but why does that mean that the Urban Renewal Agency gets involved? What about all those other developments that are outside any RAA that the city would have to deal with anyway?
It's similar to the project that is in the plan, the 2,100 feet of water line that we looked at from Lapway Road to the city limits. And the idea behind that was the properties that it serves are not able to increase their operations or develop if that line is not updated. And so, all of these are on the city's radar. It's just with limited funding, you have to pick and choose what your priorities are. In this case, the city knows about this and we're not starting at zero, meaning that it's not just something that the developer can tie into right now. That work needs to be done to bring that infrastructure to a place where it can be accessible to develop, if that makes sense. And so that's oftentimes where urban renewal agencies do come in, is to increase or develop that infrastructure so you're getting it back to that place where it can be tapped into. Because the two lines on 29th Street are not able to support this development.
So if we're not able to amend the plan and we had to create a new plan, what would that look like? Would there be enough increment? I mean, how long would it take for us to get enough increment up to actually be able to assist?
So there's different ways of doing revenue allocation areas, and there's different ways of paying for projects. for example, there's URAs that will do developer reimbursements. And so where we have traditionally kind of banked and spent or bonded and spent, you can create the financial piece to be, we will reimburse you over time. We've agreed to do these things or assist with these things, and we are agreeing to reimburse you over time. So you can do it that way too.
Yeah.
So there's different ways of going about them.
Concern I have is, someone go ahead.
I was just gonna add something at the appropriate.
Go ahead, Tom.
So one of the pieces that historically has been the challenge on this is, you know, for lack of better term, somebody already used the blighted property, and as that's common to the urban renewal project. This is not, generally speaking, an upscale, sexy part of town for building new homes and new developments. And I will say, over the past decade, as we've talked with local developers of potentially selling it, that's been one of the challenges, is as they put pen to paper to try to come up with a pencil, from their standpoint, the cost of the infrastructure, aside from the water, not having the water pressure, just the property in general, has not penciled on their given end. So what I would put out there is, ideally, and we have not on our end, Jordan and my end, done fresh numbers on that. That may no longer be the case. It may pencil fine, but there may be a request for some assistance as we put all of that together in helping, for example, get the new water line through. And one of the pieces too is you're showing a number of property owners to the north that would feed off of a future 29. And I think I can pretty much assure those are never going to get developed without not just the 29th coming through and turning on to 6th, but we have no purpose to build that extension all the way down because it really doesn't serve any of our lots. And that at a minimum could certainly be a place of interest that would encourage development of those properties to then be feeding into the future tax base. So again, just putting all of that out there, I think our request today would be is there any interest potentially with the URA to participate in whatever this may be, and I guess that would go to your willingness to do an amendment and or a whole new district. So
Yeah. So I think I agree with Butch that we just show an interest, and but for me, I would have to see how, I would have to see what's going to be done, what the current plan is, how this fits into the URA mission statement, to see if this is a project that I would think fit into our mission statement, and whether it, I'd have to look at the plan again. I haven't looked at this one in detail, but is it being modified so much that we would actually have to start a whole new RAA? Because I know that that's part of the law, that you can't change the plan.
Yeah, it's pretty restrictive on modifications, and you
Yeah.
have to meet them in order to do those modifications. And if we don't meet them, then we would have to look at a different route of what that would look like. So we're happy to have those conversations. Like I said, it wasn't something that we wanted to spend the time with legal on until we saw if there was even an interest from the board to pursue that. But we're happy to look at that and bring back information at the next meeting for you.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
That's a great idea.
I think, the more the more residential housing we have, the better.
Yeah.
I think we need the growth.
Infill,
and-
especially, you
Yeah.
know, as
Yeah.
opposed to sprawling this city
Exactly,
limits.
so I think it's a worthy project, I'm just wondering if it fits into the URA in this particular plan.
What I'd urge between now and next meeting, if we can determine if there's any way for the plan to be amended. It's a lot easier to amend the plan than to create a whole new district.
Did you have questions, Don?
Well, I was gonna mention that, we have to be kind of really careful with this because, we have other contractors that are building. And so we have to be careful when we get involved that we're not, opening up Pandora's box and opening it up where some of the other contractors are gonna get benefits from what we may do or may change here. So I have to look at it really close that way so that it's fair. So every contractor that comes to Lewiston they're building on the same ground rules. And so I would have to have more information before we could move on, but I think it's a viable project, something that is really needed. We need the housing and that area has been vacated for years, so.
So I think the consensus is to move forward.
Okay.
And find out more information and bring it back next meeting.
I'd suggest that our terminology be that we will maintain interest.
Maintain.
Yeah, I like that.
Sounds good. We can do that.
All right.
Perfect.
All right, so that will be coming back to us next time. So moving on, we'll be at downtown RAA number 7 update.
And the update is, I don't have an update for you, except for that DEQ, their assessments that were supposed to be done the week of Thanksgiving, we will not have those until the first week of January. And so, the city, so we don't have an update on that one, besides that.
All right, so that will be coming forth.
Yeah, we'll just keep it on the agenda and update you as progress happens.
Okay, yeah. So moving on, East Orchard Sewer number 5 update.
That's me. Okay, so at the last meeting, the board had asked if I could poll the number of houses that had been on the trunk line when the original lines had gone in, how many had hooked up, how many were outstanding, and then what new development looked like. So there are 103 existing homes along the 2 sections of trunk line that were installed. 48 of those have done the full hookup and abandonment of their septic systems. 23 of those homes have had the line stubbed to their property but have not abandoned their septic system yet. 32 of the homes originally on the trunk line have done nothing. They're just hanging out with their septic systems. 5 of those are in the county, but they're line adjacent, so they're on the part that just border the city-county line. And then for new development, we've had 26 new homes built and hooked up to that line since it went in. So those are your guys' numbers. And this will come in front of the board possibly in January. We just received it. This is the amendment to the contract with Mountain Waterworks. Mr. Kaufman is here, and we have not reviewed this with him yet to make sure that this contains all the things that we need it to contain. And so after staff is able to do that with Public Works staff, that information will come to the board for approval.
Hopefully in January.
Hopefully January.
Sounds like January will be busy.
Yeah.
All right,
And that's what I got for East Orchards.
thank you. Anybody have questions of Katie?
Well, those are good numbers. Thank you, Katie. Can you discern that? How many homes are now on the sewer system, which would mean not having potential effluent going to Lindsay Creek?
So 48 of the existing 103 are on sewer now. And then since that line went in, an additional 26 homes have been built and are also on the sewer. So then there are 55 homes not on the sewer yet from the original 103.
Well, I think if I'm doing the math right, that's 72 homes that are not on septic systems, thanks to us.
Correct.
Awesome, thank you for doing that. Next item on the agenda is board member comments. Anybody have any comments?
No, I was looking at the minutes and I was supposed to get a graph for the East Orchard Sewer District. I had a lot of things come up this last month, so I haven't thought, one of them was a valid excuse, I wanna say that, yeah, so anyway,
That's valid then.
what's that?
That's valid.
Yeah, so, I'll tell you after the meeting, I don't wanna get into the minutes, but I will, I haven't forgot about it, I'll get it done, so.
Anybody else? Dawn, you have anything?
Merry Christmas.
No?
Christmas, everybody.
And just,
Oh, there's Joe. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm not there, but thanks for accommodating me on Zoom.
Anytime.
yeah, and just one other thing, I compliment the people that administer this because I had gone through the minutes and the two things that I highlighted to follow up on, you guys followed up on, so that's great that these things aren't just getting left out there and they, so I appreciate that, yeah.
Good job.
Yes, great job. Staff comments?
I have one. So, legal is putting together a reception to kind of thank all of our board and commission members for their work on boards and commissions. So this is a save the date. They'll be holding a reception on Friday, February 2nd at 6 p.m. So mark the calendars. We'll be trying to get RSVPs from you guys at the January meeting so that they can plan for that.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything
That's
from
all
you,
I got.
Shannon?
Anything else?
I don't think so. We will follow up with the STP, with the city staff. And yeah, we have some work to do between now. Hopefully the holidays won't interfere too much, but hopefully try and get our research done to get you some answers for what that might look like on Main East Main at the January meeting.
All right. Awesome. No other comments? I will take a motion to end the meeting.
So moved.
Motion and second.
Hey, Madam Chairman, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're all welcome to come by the Port Lewiston next Wednesday, the 20th in the afternoon, about 3 to 5 for our annual holiday open house.
Awesome. All right.
They always have cookies.
Ah.
There'll be something there for you, but.
Awesome, thank you. So next Wednesday. All right, so we have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned.
Okay, you guys want to see my excuse? Dog ate my homework? No,